Thank you for that fine introduction, Mr. Ward. My name is Woody Ward, and I'm one of the tour guides on this important episode of the self-help podcast called What's Up with Ward. Please feel free to check us out on YouTube at What's Up with Ward TV for videos and entertainment, conversations, and chances to win prize money and more. We come from the good hood where we give it good and give it good. I also want to give a shout out to my co-host, Miss Tiki's in the building. How are you doing today?
If I were any better, my vitamins would be taking me, Ward. How are you?
Well, I'm at a loss of words at this point, but nevertheless, one of the models on our show is everybody has a story to tell, but we just want to know what's yours. Our in-studio guests. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
No. It's a lady. I thought I would get you introduced.
Yeah, I'll let you do it. Go ahead, defer.
Okay, thank you. So our very esteemed guest, Ms. Shea Gardner, is joining us today. She fits this criteria of being able to tell having a story that we definitely want to hear. She's a phenomenal woman, a wife, a mother, a yoga instructor. She started her own foundation. She's co-founder of Maroon Village and a trauma survivor who is still finding herself. So welcome, Ms. Shea, to our lab.
Woo-hoo. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely good to have you here, Shea. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it by you just tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you live at, what exactly do you do, and tell us what are we going to talk about today?
Well, currently I live in Gary, Indiana. We just moved here from the south side of Chicago. We've been here about 2 years. This summer will make 2 years. And I run a nonprofit, Maroon Village, where, like you had said, we work with student athletes. I teach yoga, and I just recently completed my 2-year mindfulness teacher certification as well. So I'm both certified as a trauma-informed mindfulness instructor and a trauma-informed yoga instructor, and I just teach them together. But I work with student athletes, I work with survivors, I work with general people, I work with schools, organizations, corporations. Do a lot of that.
She's juggling a lot of hats there, so wow, that's quite impressive. What is your educational background with all that? What did you go to school in? And what was your major?
Yeah, I went to Albion College. I graduated from Albion College with a sociology degree. I actually dropped out my senior year and moved to Chicago. I moved to Chicago per the recommendation of my advisor. I actually had transferred schools. So I guess I can take you back. We have time, right?
Sure, go for it. Let's take this journey.
Well, so I played soccer ever since I was in 3rd grade. I started out in ballet. I thought I was going to be a ballerina. I hated it, even though I love it. I love it. I think it's so beautiful. I wish I would have, embodied it, but it just wasn't me. And then so soccer came along in 3rd grade, and I never looked back. I got recruited and I got a scholarship to play at Hillsdale College, which is in Michigan. It's Division II. And I played there for a season. And then we were on winter break and we all got these letters saying they had to drop our women's soccer program, the men's soccer program, and I believe both the men and women's tennis program. Excuse me. So I knew that I had an academic scholarship at Albion and they were Division III. So I assumed that I'd be able to just walk on. And so I did. I transferred to Albion that spring semester and then joined the soccer team that next fall and graduate. And then dropped out, spent 6 years in the nonprofit world, and then decided I needed to get my degree. And I did go back to school in Chicago at UIC for a semester, but they needed me to take on more language classes. And I was so close at Albion to graduating. I was like, let me just see what credits transfer to Albion now from UIC and see where I'm at. And they were like, you only have a semester left. I was like, oh, I'm doing this. So I moved back home with my parents when I was 28, I think, 27 or 28, and finished the semester. I kept my apartment in Chicago and was able to do both. And so glad I did.
Wow. So, wait a minute. Is you an LBN? That's like the letters LBN?
Albion, Albion
Oh,
College.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little tiny town right next to my hometown. It was only like 20 minutes away from my parents' house. That's why I was able to live with them and go
I
to school.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to be good in soccer if you just knew you could walk on at another school.
I mean, yeah, I would say,
Yeah.
yeah, the confidence was there. The confidence, yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to
Mhm.
deny that.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, was I the
But
best when I walked on that team? Absolutely not. They were just because they were Division III didn't mean that the caliber was what I
mhm.
was, assuming it would be. It was those my teammates, they were phenomenal. So good. I learned so much from them.
Yeah, yeah. I like soccer. It's just that's a lot of running, man. And you don't always get the ball. I'll be like, hey, and then you get kicked in the shin all the time too.
Yep.
Mm.
Shin guards.
Yeah.
And I don't think this has changed, but I think the average miles you run a game is like 5 if you're a midfielder,
Okay.
which is what I was.
Yeah, that's a
That's
lot.
a lot.
I'm curious, do you still play just for recreation today?
With the kids. I did when I
Yeah.
first moved to Chicago, I was playing intramural, like an indoor team. And I didn't. It just wasn't. I would say I was still definitely dealing with the trauma with some unhealthy habits around like in my 20s. And towards the end of my 20s is when I was really like, oh, wait, like what, you got to get it together, girl. This is not who you are, so. But yeah,
So
I'm very active, very active. I just did
Mhm.
jujitsu for the second time. I did it last week and then this week on Mondays. So it's a lot.
Okay, so I just, because I started following you, I just saw a post. Is this what you and your husband were doing?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
Okay,
he was
looks fun.
It is fun. It is fun. And that started because my therapist recommended that I do women's self-defense class. And when I went to the gym, he's like, come to this class on Monday at this time. I showed up. He's like, yeah, it's jujitsu. I was like, what? All right. So it was,
Oh,
I
cool.
joined. I have a membership now, so it worked.
Okay, awesome. So many things I want to ask you about that. I wanted to start back with your childhood memories. But before that, I'm kind of thinking about the therapist thing because it reminds me of when Ron Artest was with the Lakers and they won the championship. And he said, my therapist was saying, X, Y, and Z. And it seemed to be okay and cool again for somebody to actually go to a therapist, because he said it. He to me, single-handedly made it cool. And you said you're a therapist and he's a man. Interesting. So many
Right.
questions. Does it
Oh, my
matter if it's a
therapist
man or
isn't a
woman?
man.
Oh,
I'm
okay. I
sorry.
thought you said
Yeah.
man.
No,
Okay.
no. It's a woman. But
Okay.
the gym owner, he was telling
Got
me
it.
that I should do jujitsu. Yep.
Okay. Because I was going to ask you, does it matter if it's a man or a woman? But
Yeah.
tell us it. So I'm going to go back to the childhood. I want to go back there, but I want to know about therapy since we're on it. What made you decide to get therapy?
Oh, well, I just counted right before we hopped on this call, and I'm 27 days or 28 days, however you want to count it, away from June 5th, which is the day a jury trial begins against a man who sexually abused me as a child. So and on top of that, I just found out that I am biracial or mixed, and I have a whole bio dad and sister, and all of these things happening while still trying to be the best me I can for my kids and my partner and my work that I do. It was just necessary. That I just don't think that I for me, I need yoga, I need meditation, I need breath work, I need nature, I need family, I need therapy, I need all these different things. And yeah, the stigma for me finally lifted, because it was there for me too. It definitely was there for me too. And even creeps in when I'm feeling anxious about having therapy. Like, why am I even doing this? It's a trap. It's a trap. You just talk about the bad things, blah, blah, blah. But I found a lot of tools already through therapy, and I only just started in November. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I know I've been talking to a lot of family members about going and they won't go. When I'm not doing podcasting, I work as a substance abuse coach. And a lot
wow.
of times I mention that to people and people are like, I'm not going to therapy. I don't need it. What can they tell me? I know everything. But you sound like it's working and you're getting good too. So it's a matter of just getting a good uh, therapist, or is it just accepting that I
Yeah.
need help at first?
Yeah, I think from what I've heard, all many of my friends and even family members have been in and out of therapy throughout their lives. And what they always told me is that, yeah, number one, it does mean it matters that you have a good relationship with your therapist, that you like them, that you're compatible, that they have expertise and knowledge on tools in the particular fields or areas that you want to work on. So for me, I wanted somebody who is knowledgeable in helping adults heal from child sexual abuse, from abuse, from being a parent, all of the things that I am, and even interested in yoga. That's where my thought was going. I was like, what else mattered? It was really important to me that my therapist believes in and uses yoga and meditation and breath work as tools to help regulate the nervous system, because that's what I do. And that's what I also share through my work. That's what I teach others to do. So I want someone to help me with that and believe in that too, because it does work for me. So my therapist
Yeah.
is into all of that, which is
Did
awesome.
you have to look specifically? Is that a category? You can actually look up a therapist that is
Yep.
into the yoga and that kind of holistic
Yep.
approach to,
You
okay.
sure
I didn't
can.
realize you could specifically try to search for something like that. Okay.
You sure can. And I ended up getting fortunate. This therapist was I say gifted to me through a friend who unfortunately
Mm,
went through the court system through a similar trial thing. And she told me that the women's shelter in our hometown has free therapy for women going through trial in the hometown court
mhm,
system. And so it's free for me. And on top of it, she just so happened to be someone who appreciates and uses yoga and mindfulness
mm,
as medicine. So that
mhm,
I kind of lucked out. But I do know for a fact you can get on Google and just start Googling, whatever types of focus you want. There's going to be therapists out there saying, these are my areas of expertise. And they get really, like really intricate, really, really, I would say my sociology brain is saying subculture, right? These different communities. There's so many different types of communities and peoples, right?
mm,
So don't limit your Google search.
I learned something new. I did not realize that. I know
Yeah.
probably, like you said, June 5th is the trial. It's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a lot of anxiety kind of building with that? Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's up and down day to day. Today, I was really heightened for a couple hours because of conversations I hopped on the phone with some family members. I called the detective today. I had to reach out to an ex-boyfriend to see if he got subpoenaed. So it's a lot.
Mhm.
And and then I teach tonight, right? I have to teach a virtual yoga and mindfulness session, and then mom, my kids are going to come home. I have to be mom, and then I have to be all of these things. And yeah, it can be overwhelming, is how my therapist was, she's like, you sound
Yeah.
overwhelmed. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're
But
hiding it very well.
well, because honestly, I'm happy. Like I'm genuinely I'm not, couple things with the word healing and this idea of trauma and healing. Like I am, I'm just at a different place in my life where I'm a little bit wiser. And I think I really want to be here. I want to be present for what's happening in my life and the relationships that I've worked hard um to build and to cultivate and to nurture. So
Yeah. I have two questions. So, my mind is going so many places here. This is just new to me because I'm thinking maybe I should go to this therapy. But anyway,
yeah.
does your does your husband go to therapy too with you, or do you just bring back the tools, or try them on him, or do you tell him what you're learning? How does that
Good
work?
conversation. I wish he was here right now to listen in and laugh. He does not go to therapy, but we are right now in the works of finding a marriage counselor, someone to help us with our communication, because we both want to be here, but we're having, when things get heightened, we're having miscommunication, and that causes hurt, right? And things to be said that hurt, and actions to be done that hurt, and we don't want to do that. So yeah, and he I think is working through his own understanding of his hesitation for therapy, because the way that I have framed it to him is that, listen, this isn't even necessarily about like you needing to go to therapy to fix things for you. I'm asking you to go so that you can get tools to help be with someone who was sexually abused for 7 years as a child. Like, this is not like, and you can't trauma compare, you can't say one over the other, but this is a big chunk of my life that has really impacted me, and unfortunately it manifests in my behaviors, and that's why I need help and support in all of these things. And I'm not this crazy horrible person, right, behind closed doors, but I am someone who can't take a joke, right, sometimes, and then gets really offended and confused, and then maybe if he goes and speaks with someone who understands that about me and is trained in giving him skills and how to navigate weird nuances like that, then that's only helping our relationship. And I think that's been helpful for him to get on board with. So yeah, we're going to be going to marriage counseling
Mm.
soon.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the reason for that. It's same thing with culture. If you don't familiarize yourself with somebody's culture and you don't understand their background, and things they do could be offensive to you, or you don't understand why they do things. So I think it's very important. Why not with marriage, like a specific background, a traumatic background like yours? It changes kind of things. We don't always behave in a normal, if there is a normal way, react to
Right.
things in a normal way. So absolutely. You had
Yeah.
said something earlier, and actually it's talking about the trial and everything. So the perpetrator is going to trial for what they did for you, crimes against you. Yeah.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I thought there was a statute of limitations involved with that, or
There,
no, they can
so
still be tried.
yeah, so in there was a few things going on back in the day. So I tried to press charges against him in 2003. And not only were there statute of limitations back then, but there also was, but I don't know how that played into why they didn't take the case. And I can't remember the language around it. So if you're, getting that from that interview, that was my mistake in not catching that in the edits, to be like, hey, this is how you should word what's happening in the trial. So yeah, it was, they didn't have enough evidence back in the day. At the end of the day, the prosecutor said there's not enough evidence. Fast forward to 2020 pandemic lockdown. I'm talking March, that last week of March, or maybe it was like March 20 something. Another survivor came to me, and I didn't know they were a survivor, and said, hey, this person did the same thing to me, but actually they did. And again, you can't trauma trump, but to me, I just think it, anyways, it was a lot. And so they said they wanted to do something about it. I said, I will help you. I will call up to the police station and say, hey, I already made a report on this person. So they filed a police report, and sure enough, they have now, they're charging him. The charges are for this victim and for me. I have
Okay,
5
wonderful.
charges, and 4 are for me and 1 is for the other victim.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I was concerned about that because I thought whose children don't have a voice, especially if they've been abused that. And so it often does come out years and years later. So, I mean, how do they get justice if they don't? So, okay,
Right.
it makes sense. Yes, thank you. Makes sense.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah. I'm curious about that trial as well. I mean, not to get all into the case and deep into it, but
I'm here
the
for
person.
whatever. I'm an open book, to be honest.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
truth
Okay.
teller and a truth seeker, and I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I respect that. I'm the same
Yeah.
way. I was just wondering. So the person, they can just say, "I didn't do it." It's their word against mine. Is it kind of something like that? Because it seemed like nobody's going to go through this many, these many hurdles to just make up a lie. So how do you prove my word over his?
Yeah, and that's exactly the existential crisis in question, especially because my understanding is that we, as the people coming forward and saying this person did this to me, the law says I now have to testify. And then the law also says that the person we are accusing has the right to not testify if they don't want to. So at the end of the day, it is me and this other victim, our credibility on the line. And the jury is going to be judging whether we're telling the truth or not, which is, yeah, how can you not get anxious about that? Especially for me, I've lived as someone who I'm not a liar. I don't think I'm a liar, or like, I try not to like even tell white lies. It just feels ick to me, and it's not in alignment with me. So I already had to testify in the preliminary exam, and I wasn't coached. So I, unfortunately, in my opinion, I like feel embarrassed about, or like guilt and shame about how emotional I got. But it's hard when someone is standing there literally lying and saying, well, didn't this happen? Didn't you text your sister this and that? And I'm like, I have to, I'm processing, taking deep breaths while being like, what? I didn't even have a cell phone back in the day. But you know what I mean? Like wanting to respond in a way, but you can't. You have to literally like robot answers. It's very weird. And I'm not that person. I'm a Cancer, and I'm a Gemini rising. If you know anything about Geminis and Cancers, very emotional and communicative people. So I'm going to tell it. I'm going to say how I'm feeling. So it's hard.
Did you ever thought, Tiki? I think she may have frozen.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it looks like she's frozen. She's deep in thought. I'll
I
just
know.
keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I guess going to that court thing, it's got to be rough on your family as well. Does everybody know about this now, or
Yeah. Everybody
the kids and
knows.
all? Okay.
Yeah. The kids know. They don't, they know as much as makes sense for them to know. I've
I
shared
understand.
that I am, going, like when mommy goes to Michigan, I'm going to court. Like you see,
Hmm.
like if we see something on TV and they ask about it and I'm able to reference it, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, my parents have known since it first came out in the early 2000s and have been supportive the whole way.
Okay.
And my husband as well, all my siblings.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
It's actually a family thing. It's
Okay.
actually an ex-family member. So,
Oh,
you
mhm.
know, I don't want to say too much about the other people who are involved because I know that it's sensitive, but this is an
Right.
ex-family member who
Okay.
this affects me and my immediate family. I have four other siblings, and so when I say it affects our immediate family, that's just as much as I can say for now.
So God forbid this should happen, but have you prepped yourself? What if they say, oh, we found him innocent, we'll just let him off the hook with this? Have you prepped yourself? Will you be able to still kind of have closure of some sort if something like that should happen? Hopefully it won't. Hopefully justice will be served, but
Yeah, you know, have I prepped myself? I feel like only recently I'm starting to open that door and realize I have to do something about that and sort of prep myself. It's hard to look at. That's hard to think about. And hard to rationalize because in my eyes this is real. This happened more than once and for years. And then in my eyes it sounds like he's escalated and gotten worse with, his behaviors. So yeah, we have to find him guilty. But you're right. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
just even posing the question, I have to do that to myself. I have to.
hmm Yeah. And then on top of this, like you mentioned, you just found out something about your parentage. So how are you dealing with that? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was opening Pandora's box, and it was something that I had wondered for decades at this point in my life. And there's lots of backstories to that if we want to get into that. But I, at this point, decided this summer for my birthday, I'm doing this. I'm getting a DNA test and putting all of this doubt and wonder to rest. I don't deserve to have this wondering anymore. And especially as a sociologist, and then I'm one class away from an anthropology major, so I say I'm both. Like
Mhm.
the advancement in this technology is so amazing. Like I it's so funny to me looking back. My parents, normally we talk about everything like that. And I realized not once did we ever talk about getting DNA tests and any of the advancement in it and all of that, so we know what that means. Nobody wanted that to happen and nobody wanted it to come out. And what I'm working on reconciling is, do I want to waste time being angry at my parents at this point in my life?
I'm
They,
So
confused. So
yeah,
what happened? What did you
yeah.
what were you?
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
my parent, I took a DNA test and found out that I have a whole other Black family. And I was raised white. All of my family is white. So when I pulled up my results and connected to the section on the app that shows you
Mhm.
your matches or your
Yeah.
relatives,
Uh-huh.
there's this whole line of Black people. And I was like, what is this? And what
Yes.
is this? And my mom's sister was
Wow.
on there as well. And of course, none of them matched with her. So it's not, you know what I mean? And none of my dad's side was on there. So who are these people? And so I I am a private investigator on my downtime, right? As like a
Hmm.
hobby for
Hmm.
myself. And I quickly, did what I needed to do and found who are now my cousins. I found my cousins and was like, hey, who might my dad be? Who might this be? Like, what is this? Who is this? And they all were shooketh. Like, who are you? Let's figure this out. But it came down to, which this is probably God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in. Nobody could figure it out. So I had to ask my mom. I had to ask her. So, I asked my aunt, and my aunt denied, and if they watch this, hi, love you guys. This is healing. And it is all out of love, for real. It's all out of love, right? Just, she wanted my mom to be able to share that with me, I'm sure. And so my mom did call me and told me that, yes, you have a bio dad. And so since then, I've connected with him. I've connected with my half sister, my new bio sister. And yeah, and all of my cousins and aunts and uncles, and it's been amazing. And why waste my time being angry? Like, I just don't have the energy.
Yeah, you gained family. You're obviously very happy about that.
I am. I
So,
really am.
yeah, I can tell. And they must be fantastic people too. So
They're
good
awesome.
people.
They're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
They welcomed me in, gave me gifts. I'm wearing my grandmother, she passed, but my
Mm.
grandmother's bracelets
Oh,
every day, like they're with me every day now. And I'm so happy.
yeah. Yeah. So what were the things, I think you mentioned earlier, there was things even in your childhood that made you wonder, you maybe just didn't quite fit in? What kind of things were going on there
Yeah.
that made you just feel different than everybody else?
There's a series of events. So first of all, growing up, uh, I have been called Oreo multiple times just by random people throughout the years. But the first time it happened, I was in Alabama, and I'll never forget it because I was like, what is an Oreo? And the kid was like, I think I was in like 5th grade, and we were jumping on the trampoline. I was at my grandma's, and it was her neighbor. And he's like, where one of your parents is black and the other is white. And I was like, what? And I like pointed, I'm like, my parents are right there. Like, they're both white. And he's like, nah. And I was like, that's weird. And I just thought I looked, like I could be mixed. But then, so then throughout those school years, I got called things like monkey lips and, again, Oreo. Yeah, very mean things. And I, as a white
Cruel.
person,
Kids are
then I
cruel.
was like, wow, this is horrible. Getting the feeling of what it must be like to have this, mixed or a black experience, just a little bit, being, called horrible things for, anyways. Then the summer I was moving to Chicago, I got kicked out of my parents' house because I was not, I was holding down 3 jobs, but also partying and not following their rules as a 22-year-old. And I think I was 22. Yeah. And so I moved in with my sister, and, sisters talk, and she's 9 years older than me. And she was sharing some stories with me, and very rightfully so. I I don't think that my parents should ever, be upset with her for that. And I don't know if they are or aren't, but I don't even need to bring it up because we're sisters, and she's my best friend. She's going to tell me everything. And she shared that there were these experiences where, you know, my dad was going to go yell at this guy at work, and this is what he looked like. He looked like brown, right? And sure enough, I this is how small the world is. My sister and my aunt were in the same 1st grade class. My bio dad's sister. So, but that's not how they met, according to the story that I heard. And let me share that my mom and dad were going through a rough time. They were separated. So it wasn't, as juicy as it could get. My understanding is my dad and mom were separated, and that's what everyone has said, and I believe that to be true. So what happened was my mom ended up, it sounds like they were dating a little bit, my bio dad and my mom, but then my mom and dad got back together. She found out she was pregnant with me, and they went to my bio dad and said, we want to raise her, we're getting back together, are you okay with this? And he was young. They were in my mom was almost 30. My dad was older than 30. My bio dad was young, like 22 or 23. And he just wasn't ready and was like, it's okay. You guys, my dad was going to school to be an attorney, a tax attorney. They had, this life, as my bio dad explains it, that he felt that they could give me that he wouldn't be able to. And, I respect all of this. This as a parent now, and at age 38, I can receive this information and understand this was all out of love, no maliciousness, involved. And if I were to have gotten this information back in the day or, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have the tools I have now to be able to hold it with respect and with gratitude, because it's a gift. It's a gift that I've been given, really.
I agree. That speaks to what kind of caliber man your father was to do something like that too. Yes.
Yeah.
So if anything, to be proud, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Exactly. And everyone
should be
says
very
that.
proud.
And I hope if he ever watches this, that he hears that, because everyone says that about him, just to be able to step in and step up. And I never knew. It would have never, besides the rumors swirling around, I would have never suspected, because he's never treated me any differently. It's just not a thing.
Yeah,
So,
I'm biracial myself. I've got stories too. There's always
yeah.
But I knew I have a Black father, white mother, but I was raised in a white household. I was raised with my mother and my white stepfather. So I was just around, and I saw my dad from time to time, but yeah, for all intents and purposes, it was I grew up white.
Right.
So yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this question. So they didn't tell you at all. So you grew up and you were kind of feeling like, hey, something's not right. Because sometimes we have, of course, I'm not biracial, but sometimes you never know what the hair you're going to give a biracial kids. So they took a gamble on you on that. Okay, get past that. And then, was the goal to never tell you this? If you never had, I'm not trying to.
Yeah, no, and that is,
Wow.
that's a question that, I have not asked them, and I don't know that I will ask them, because I don't know that I need to know that answer, because I think I already know the answer. That maybe they didn't want to, maybe they would tell me one day, or maybe, someone would, when someone passed, if someone passed first, type of, I speak very bluntly. So, I keep, as words are coming out, I'm like, oh my gosh, can my mom, will she be okay watching this? My dad, will you be okay? You'll be okay.
Yeah. They have nothing to be ashamed of. There's this thing called throwback genes, though. When you have kids.
Yeah.
Throwback genes, like, that baby doesn't look like us.
Well, and to be honest, I think what happened was my bio dad he's mixed. So his mother is Black, his dad is white, and he is very light skinned. Like, when I was telling my mom, the rumors I had heard about him being brown, she was like, the way she described him was, I had to laugh. I was like, does she think he's white? She must. I know she's met his mother. I know she did, from the stories that I've heard. So I think they just didn't think I would have any of those features, because he doesn't present, he could pass, they say passing, he could pass.
Right. Yes. Two quick questions come to mind now. I'm way off script. This is not, I'm shocked. But anyway,
so many angles.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to therapy after this. I just want you guys to know that. But I'm thinking, if you had dated or married a white guy, I wonder how he would have took that, because you found out after you were married, right? Okay. So, and were you attracted to? Well, you were white, right? You grew up white. So how?
No, I was always dating Black men, and honestly, you guys, have you heard of Rachel Dolezal?
No, I don't know her.
Okay,
sounds familiar though.
There's this white woman who got in. She, got, I don't know, canceled, if that's a word, but she wasn't. She was like someone high up in the NAACP.
I remember.
She went to
Yep. Curly. Yeah.
she went to HBCU, you
Mm-hmm.
know, turns out she's white. She was literally lying and saying this black man was her father and that she's, I guess, biracial. But then they found out she has white parents. They talked to her parents. She admitted it, came out and says she's trans ethnic, right? So we have this new category, trans ethnic. And, people call BS on it. But as I was watching her documentary, I just felt such guilt and shame, but also being seen, because I was like, I feel like her. I'm so drawn to the Black community and I don't know what it is. And my feelings get hurt when I'm like, when I feel not included and I don't understand. And my husband, who's Black, has tried, we've had lots of philosophical conversations about how everyone needs these safe spaces, and you just have to respect that, like when I'm not included because I'm not BIPOC, right? So I lost my train of thought, but you guys will help me get back there. It's been an interesting, wild ride.
Your story, we were chatting before and you told me you saw this because when you were telling me story, and I am very drawn to stories and shows that feature biracial women for obvious reasons. So I watched the show called Little White Lies. It's uncanny how similar your stories.
I have goosebumps. I've seen it.
What's Little White Lies? I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so it's this
The woman's name
documentary.
was Lacey, which are Little White Lies.
It's excellent. My former boss, when I shared this on social media and all this came out, my former boss sent me her password to her Amazon Prime so I could watch that, because she's like, this is your story. And I watched it and it was so close. It was so healing to watch. And I sent it to my mom and I was like, I hope we watch this one day, and she said she will. So I just think it'll be very healing for her too. It was so well done.
Yes. And there is even something you said too about just identifying, you've always felt drawn to Black community. And the young lady in this story said the same thing. She said, she went to college, she found this out about herself. She started mingling with people who were of color, which never happened in her life before. And she felt like she just completely fit in. So I think there was a point where she even told her dad she identified with Black people and everything. He was super happy to hear about that. He raised her as a white woman. So, but that's what she was drawn towards. So very similar.
And very similar and very real. And I feel so complete and whole now, not in a healed sense, but in just a more full sense that I can move through the world now knowing who I am fully, no questions.
Yeah, that's a lot to deal with. How did your husband feel when he found out? What was his reaction?
He was shocked, and he actually was like, he wasn't discouraging me by any means, because he's a huge supporter of everything that I want to do. And he was just like, you need to be very careful. And so he helped me navigate what happens when you do the ancestry. I did ancestry DNA. And so what they said was, hey, when you receive your results, do you want to see the people you're related to? And I told him that, and he was like, say no. He's like, say no at
Say
first,
no?
because all you want to see is the results. You just want to see the DNA. Just say no to that. And then you can, open that can of worms if need be. And sure enough, when Africa was lit up on my results, I had to open it. I had to unlock and see what that meant and who these people were. So, or who they might be, right? But he is a huge supporter. He is, I think, shocked is a word that I use, because he now has to, look at me differently and even talk to me and make jokes differently now. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. Oh, well, I was just wondering how
in
that
a
works.
good way. You know.
Yeah, yeah. That is an amazing story. You're handling that so well. I know I was reading some of your information for background. I noticed you said you get anxiety sometimes with opening emails. So I can imagine how it must have been to find that out. Because and I
Yes.
really, yeah.
Well, and
Hmm.
get this, I got the results literally as I was leaving a court hearing. Literally, as we just
Oh,
got done with the court, because there's lots of court hearings along the way to trial. I walked out and looked at my phone, and it's like, your results are in. And I was like, and I was like waving bye to my parents, and I was like, open. I was like, oh my God, standing right there in front of the courthouse. I will never forget it. It was like everything
There would have
all at
been
once.
no question with me what I am. My hair and my behind tells all the story. So,
Right?
no hiding it.
Right? I
What are
know.
your
My
top
hair
kind?
is a little curly, but not. I don't have. I would like it to be curlier always.
Uh, so what are the top percentages as far as your DNA came out? What countries, and do you remember what countries in Africa, or
Yeah, I
it's like a
am
main one?
the. It's a bunch of them. So I'm about like 15 to 17%. So the main ones, I'm like 4% Cameroon, Congo, that area, Bantu peoples. I'm 4% something else I can't remember. I'm Nigerian. There was Nigerian on both my mom and dad's side. My mom had 1% Nigerian. Hey. Yeah. So that's cool. What else? I can't remember, but I got a tattoo. I'm gonna show it on camera to honor my results. I just got it, so it's all healed up.
I
Where'd it
saw
go?
that.
Oh,
Sweet.
there it is.
Yeah, there it is. I saw that.
Sweet.
I was wondering why you got that tattoo because you got quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple I want to ask about. Yeah, but that was nice.
Yeah.
You
So
you had
that's
another one
where,
too.
yeah, I have a
Yeah, go
lot of
ahead.
tattoos. Well, I have like 8 or 9, I think, at this point.
Ooh, man. Yeah, the one was called was it Mother and Child or something? What was it called?
Yeah, that's goddess Isis and her son Horus. Yeah. So they
Mm,
say that's the first real, what I've heard is that's the first, this depiction is the first real depiction of Mary and Jesus, if you will.
okay. Yeah, yeah. So you guys have been through a lot there, and like I said, you definitely have a supportive family, and I can appreciate that. And I just had
Yeah.
to ask again about your husband going through all this, and you said marriage counseling is on the line now. Is that because of how can he support you in this? And I guess I wouldn't know how to support someone in that myself because I'm thinking,
Yeah. And
I
and
don't
that's
know.
and that's why I asked him to go to therapy, because even I can't even answer that necessarily. I can say certain things like him showing up at trial. He'll be there the whole week with me. That's super supportive. He's come to all the hearings that he can. He takes the kids and holds it down the house while I'm in Michigan for these hearings when he can't be. All of those ways, letting me be able to just talk about it and cry or get angry, process through. He's done a great, he is supporting me. And that is, if he watches this, shout out to you, Rich. Thank you. I love you. Great support. It's really more of fine tuning like I said, our communication skills, because maybe what the therapist will tell him is how he can then tell me how I can talk better to him, right? How I can communicate better, kinder, more genuine, rather not from a space of fear, but from a place of love. It's again, not, I don't know these answers, but maybe a therapist can help.
Yeah, I definitely think they can, especially because I wrote down something that I tell my clients sometime. I don't know if it works for everybody, but I'll ask them 4 questions. I'll say, what are you worried about? Why are you worried about it? What do you need to do? And when are you going to do it? So that tends to put people in a headspace where, you got to get some action to it. And
I
I,
love
I
that.
was thinking, I just don't know how, because men, we don't tend to like being told what to do by somebody else. So the person who hasn't gone to therapy yet, I'm just so curious how that would work if he's telling me how to tell my wife what I should do. And then I feel like, okay, well, maybe I'm wrong now, or do I always have to have you every time we have a problem? Am I going to have to go back and call you up? Hey, doc, he's saying this and that, I just, so many questions. I imagine he probably has the same thing too.
Yeah, I would think so too. Especially his background. He's a retired NFL athlete and has been in, a male dominated world for a really long time, right? So
Yes.
just being what I think is beautiful is, he asked me, would I want a male or a female therapist? And I told him, I said, at this point, I'm already in therapy. This is new for you. I want you to be comfortable. You can choose. And he has chosen, he wants to do a female therapist because he feels that he needs to learn from the feminine divine, right? If you will, more. He wants to learn more from females. So I think what that means is his meditation and yoga practices are working.
Oh, I don't know if it's there was one part. Well, tell us about the organization. We haven't even talked about that. Tell us about the organization that you started, because there's a direct connection between what you endured as a child and I think what sports did for you and starting this. So if you can just share briefly what that was about, I'm interested.
Sports.
And then we want to know how y'all met too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a fun story.
You can answer Ward if you want. He's anxious.
Yeah. Well, okay. What was yours? I'll do yours. What was yours again?
What was the connection between starting the the organization and
sports saved my life, number one. And I just have always wanted to remain connected to that world, even like for myself, just being an athlete. I ran the Chicago Marathon for a friend under her name, ended up qualifying for the Boston Marathon as an adult, right? So still still active, right? But when I met Rich, which I'll get to how we met after this, about 2 years into our relationship, we had already talked. When we first met, we talked about how we both wanted to run our own nonprofits. But a couple of years into our relationship and marriage, we really started honing in what it was that we wanted to do. And then after my second child was born, our daughter was born, I had really bad postpartum depression, and my friend was like, I told you to do yoga. And so when I picked up my yoga practice, I started doing YouTube videos, like 10 minutes every day. It was so impactful. I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't really articulate it, like the healing or like just this meditation that was going on. That was very healing. It was happening. And I realized, hey, Rich, we need to include this in our nonprofit, with the work that we're doing with our student athletes. This makes sense. This will bring about a whole experience for an athlete that really will prepare them to be a leader on and off the field. And he was all for it because he had yoga as a class in college at Penn State in the early 2000s. So he's been practicing yoga longer than me as a football player who made it to the NFL, which is just awesome. And here we are. We run, we're going to be running our summer camp, a mindfulness and sports camp out of Calumet College of St. Joseph's in Whiting, Indiana. That's like our main huge thing that we're really proud of right now. We receive funding to do that for the next 3 years, and it's free for the campers. Yeah. So just really excited. We've done work with the Chicago Bulls for the past 3 years. And just really enjoying where we might be growing in the next to come. We're excited.
What areas do you serve with your organization? What areas do you serve?
Everywhere. We don't have a brick and mortar right now. That is we're putting that high on the priority list. Like every time we meet, it's becoming more and more of a reality that we really want one and need one. But we're all over. Since we don't have a brick and mortar, we just come to wherever you need us to come. Or if you don't have a space but want to train, we get a space and we go train.
Yeah. So why Gary? I've been there a few times. I actually got a barber's license from there years ago, but
Nice.
Gary's a ghost town. I mean, since Michael left, it's not been the same. I think
Yeah,
you guys got that
Gary,
Miller Beach
you
down there,
know,
something like that.
yeah, and we're not far from Miller. We're not in Miller, so
Okay.
can't say that we're close to the lake, but we are. I mean, to me, I was sold on Gary because it is so close to Chicago, where we do a lot of our work, and it is even closer than Chicago is to Michigan. So I'm closer to my family. And then when it comes to having a family and wanting to raise my kids and have access to outside immediately, and be able to afford things, and then also to have a good education, we just found that all out here. I know Gary's a ghost town and gets a bad reputation, but we have an awesome neighborhood. We're on a block with families. The kids have little kids next door, they're best friends. The school that they go to is a really cool school that they go on hikes every week. They're able to be out in nature. Our house is paid off because it was a total rehab. And yeah, we're still in construction, which I'm glad you have the background. I was like, where can I do? Our house is under construction, but it's worth it. You know, to me, Chicago was just getting too fast, too much. And with everything that I'm going through or was going through, even before all of the trials started and this came out with the DNA, it was just a lot. I was early stages of motherhood. My kids were toddlers, and we just realized we really wanted to be able to do Maroon Village work. Like, we do this full time. We don't get paid. Like, we do not get paid for this work unless the bulls are paying us, right? Or like a corporation is paying us, but that's only, here and there throughout the year. And we could not do that in Chicago. We can do that out here. Our income
Hmm.
now and the house being paid off allows us to. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
worth it, y'all.
I saw you had said one time in one of your posts, you were very candid. You said, I'm broke. I don't have that down to my last dollar or something you said. And I thought that was a very candid post. And most people aren't
That was
that
me
honest
again
about
this
things.
week. That was me,
Yeah.
guys. I told Rich, I said, look, I got pennies in my account. Cause as an entrepreneur and a contractor, you send an invoice in. If you don't follow up, I was going on week 3 of following up on an invoice. I was going to follow up, but then they followed up with me and was like, did you turn the invoice in? I was like, there's my answer. And that's why I have no dollars in my account. You wait, and it's unfortunate. People love, to say United States is amazing, but it is hard as an entrepreneur out here. It is hard as a nonprofit owner. It is hard as a 9-to-5er. I've done that too. It is hard. And that's where what I always tell people is, we have to work, we have to pay bills. For me, I looked at it as I could be uncomfortable working for someone else, or I could be uncomfortable working for myself. And for me, it was working for myself, and it wasn't overnight, right? This didn't happen overnight. This is years of the grind, and lots of times looking at an empty bank account, right? Or on your pennies, and having to ask for help. So uh, I've
mhm.
learned to be very resourceful, being both a nonprofit, being in that world since 18, and then also choosing to then run one and live that lifestyle. You get resourceful, and you learn what's really important to you, and having my kids be able to run out my door and me still be in my house cooking food and be able to call them in, it's dinner time. That was important for me.
Absolutely. I'm curious as to the inspiration for the name. It was what came to my mind was Maroon 5, the singing group.
Oh
So what was
yeah,
the
yeah.
inspiration for the name of your organization?
Yeah. Rich always tells it, I guess better than me, or he articulates it more. He's more studied in the Jamaican Maroons journey, but that's where it's from. So their story of, maintaining autonomy and their community and their fight to live the way they have the right to live. We're very inspired by that. And we feel that we too have the right to live however we want to live, as long as we're being helpful and not harmful. So heavily inspired by the Jamaican Maroons.
Mark Cuban, of the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, he had made a quote once. I don't know if he really meant it, but he said, "I'd rather work for myself and earn $50,000 a year rather than work for somebody else to make $750,000 a year." Don't know how true that is, but it did resonate with me. So when you said you're working for yourself, I can see if you have a certain glow about yourself for doing that, because I know it's got to be hard running that. And in fact,
Yeah.
how do you start a nonprofit? And does nonprofit mean you just don't make money or you don't get rich off it? What how does that work?
Yeah. So let me make sure I'm going to try and answer all of those. So number one, a nonprofit is it's not me and Rich, right? This is Maroon Village. So it's never like me or Rich doing these things. It's always Maroon Village. And in Maroon Village, that includes our board members and our student athletes that we serve. It includes their coaches and their parents as well, right? So it's this concept of, and all nonprofits really should be operating that way. It's a concept of, it's the community making the decisions around what programming is coming in to this through Maroon Village, right? So when that comes to money, you can, I worked for a nonprofit in Chicago, and I was making a lot of money. Their budget was a big budget. I'll say it this way. I ran a $3 million budget for this nonprofit as their program manager. So you can imagine that I was making a decent amount of money myself as a program manager. Not crazy, but more than what a normal nonprofit would pay, like a lot more than when I was comparing to other nonprofits. It was a lot more. So you can, but that comes with, you got to know people, and that nonprofit that I worked for and still work for, just at a different capacity, they got it. And good for them, because the work that they do is amazing. And we may get there one day, but my goal is not to be a co-founder that's making a six-figure income, which some nonprofits can. Some executive directors are making six figures at nonprofits in the United States. So you can get there,
I'm
but
definitely
that's not
interested.
my goal.
Okay. Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I
Yeah.
would if it comes, I'm not saying I won't take it. I also
Right.
am not saying that.
I understand.
So
I understand.
universe,
Yeah.
bring in the
Okay.
grants and all of that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but that means you get a team, and I would love to support a team and build out Maroon Village and have more people doing this work, because I think
Yeah.
student athletes, they respect it, they believe it, and they trust it, and that's why we're
Mhm.
growing. So
Yeah, definitely. You listen to What's Up with Ward, the podcast featuring Miss Shea Gardner. Everybody has a story to tell, but we just want to know yours. And now we're going to move into the second part of the show before we wrap it up, called Getting to Know You, or Rapid Fire Questions. We're just going to ask you just a few fun questions before we end this thing. My first question is one I tried to get in earlier. How did you and Rich meet? Now, he's a football player, were you the cheerleader? Was this one of these?
I was the client. He was a trainer they're now called UFC gyms, but it was LA Boxing back in the day. And my mom was telling me I needed to, because of my anger issues, I needed to take up boxing. She thought that might be good. And then my coworkers came in and said that Groupon had a week of free classes at LA Boxing, and that they went to a boxing class and that the instructor was cute. So I Googled him. I went to their website and looked up their trainers, and I was like, oh, he is cute. I was like, let me go ahead and go to this class. And when I went to class, when I saw him walk by, and I'm an intuitive person. I'm kind of like woo-woo like that. And Spirit said to me, you're going to marry him and he doesn't even know it. And then I said back, I don't even know it. And then what happened from there was I was like, let me get, because I'm an athlete. I respect that he played in the NFL. I was like, let me get a free comp session with him. And so we scheduled like a free training session, and he actually missed it. He didn't even call. So I showed up, and he was like a no call, no show. So the next time I went to his class, I was like, when are we going to schedule? And he was like, how about we go out for a drink instead? And I just couldn't even hold back. I was like, okay.
So
I
he
was going
knew
to say
it
he
too.
didn't even have a chance, but he was on board with
know.
that, whatever you
So
were
I like
feeling.
to say I stalked him.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have a question you want to go, Tiki? Because I can just run mine down, but if you got one, go ahead.
Oh, I have a question. I want to know her favorite. If I'm going to put two movies out there, hopefully this is not like you won't get them because of age. I think I'm a little bit, just a wee bit older than you. So, Beaches with Bette Midler, Barbara Hershey, Shush Ward, or Legends of the Fall.
Ooh,
Which
I'm
is the
going to go with
best?
Beaches. I got to go with Beaches.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got to
it
go
was
with Beaches.
hard. I know.
That is like yeah.
Well, I love that
Oh,
movie.
I gotta go with that.
tearjerker. He has
Yes.
no
Never,
clue. He has
never
no
heard of
clue.
that. Beaches.
If you got to be in the Bette Midler fan club to know that one, I feel like, right?
Oh yes, she was my
I know a
one of
little
my
bit about her.
favorite
A little bit
actresses.
about her.
It's a
I
good
know she can
movie.
sing really well.
Yeah, I got to
Beaches.
Oh,
see
it's a
her.
great
She's
movie.
awesome.
Is that the one about the whales and stuff? Did they get stuck on the thing and they push them back? I may have saw that. Yeah, Beaches. I have to look on there again.
No, I don't
we
think
know.
so.
Okay. Well, we know that Shea. I
He
took
don't
notes.
know. He don't know. You got to be in the biracial club to know.
Whatever.
Right.
Like I said, I'll just have Shea give me that password to Amazon and I can watch
Right.
it. Okay. Next question is, Shea, what was your first memory of not fitting in?
I would say when I was playing soccer, and I loved my teammates still to this day, but little kids can be mean. And I saw some of the girls painting their nails, and I was like, oh, I didn't know soccer players. And I was new to the team, so I wanted to fit in. And they were the Catholic school girls, and I was the public school girl. There was like half and half, right? But I was one of the public school girls. So this was club sport. So this is like travel league. So they were painting their nails, and I was like, I'm going to paint my nails now. And so I painted my nails, and the next practice, one of my Catholic schoolgirl teammates told me, soccer girls don't paint their nails. And I was confused and felt like I didn't belong, felt like, that twinge of she doesn't want me here, or doesn't want me in. Right. So I think that was 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You said you were rebellious for a while, especially in them early 20s. What kind of things would you do? Just like sneak out the window, stay out 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? Did you talk back, or what? You seem so
No.
calm. I just can't see you doing
Listen,
anything.
listen. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it now. I've been arrested a couple times. I unfortunately, was stupid, and in my hometown, a lot kids around my age, and I don't know if it's still a thing, but back in the day, it was like people were getting in trouble for drunk driving, MIPs. I got an OWI, which, they might talk about on trial, right? I don't know what they're going to pull out, but I do have, these on my record. Maybe not anymore, because I think they go away after a certain amount of years. And that was before I was 20 or 21. I was 20. So yeah, my dad's had to come get me all the way, like drive a couple cities over, come get me out of jail, let me stay there overnight. They were going to make me stay for a couple weeks. So I was like, you
Dang,
can't, my
weeks.
birthday, I'm going to be in here on my birthday. And they're like,
Got to be off of that.
no.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've done some crazy things. Yeah. As far as, high risk behavior goes that follows with, trauma. So
Right.
I think that I have no shame, and I also have no regret. Like and hopefully I've apologized to all the people that I've harmed along the way during those years of, being lost. But I think I'm making up for it through the work that I do, and raising my kids to be good humans. And yeah.
All right. Next question is, what does your husband like most about you?
Probably that I'm funny. I make him laugh a lot.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And who would you say has been the most kindest to you in your life?
Most kindest to me in my life. That is a bit, my faith.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Next question is, what are you most excited about now? I know you do so many things. There's something that just gets you going, like, oh yeah, I'm ready to get in there and do this.
Huh. I am excited for the summer camp that we're running this June. I'm excited for that. I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to train the college student athletes who are going to be the coaches at the camp. I'm really proud of what we are doing with this summer camp program.
And if you could go back in time for 10 minutes to talk to young Shea, you had 10 minutes to talk to yourself, what would you tell her? What would you tell that young lady?
Girl, you are so good. It's not even funny. It's all going to be all right. And just try to enjoy the ride. Like, try to be there for the moments. Just try to be there for the moments.
Gonna be okay. And the last question, I know in Indiana, marijuana is illegal. I'm not sure if it's legal in Illinois or not, but I want to know how do you feel about that with just as a topic?
That is a whole other podcast, right? Because of, the mass amounts of people incarcerated for cannabis still, right? Wrongfully and or just unjustly. But as far as, the access and the things that it can provide, and the opportunities and the healing that can happen by making this, legalized, or, just, I guess, legalized. I'm like, come on, Indiana. So I just read an article the other day that Indiana is now realizing how much money they're missing out on. And Rich was sharing with me that he read an article that it's in talks, it's in legislation. So I am a huge advocate of plant medicines. I'm a huge advocate of holistic healing, including, psychedelics and microdosing and all of that. So I'm here for it. I'm here for all of
Okay.
the healing, especially when Mother Earth is involved.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna wrap this up. Let's Tiki, let's you another question in that round. We're gonna go for the close. You good? Okay. Well, Miss Shea Gardner, it's been a plum pleasing pleasure to hear your story and speak with you today. Is there anything else you want to share, clarify, or correct before we get our final thoughts in?
No, just I want to say thank you so much. It's been my pleasure and an honor. And thank you for seeing me.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you let people know where they can find you on social media and also your nonprofit organization?
Yes. So our nonprofit is Maroon Village. We're on Instagram and Facebook, maroon_village for Instagram. Facebook is just Maroon Village, and then hellomaroonvillage.org. And then me personally, I can be found on Instagram at hippie bum peace. I love being on Instagram. It's so fun. And
Yep.
hippie bum peace. And then I also have a website, groundedhealing.me. And that's where you can reach out to me to connect if you want to do private sessions, workshops, trainings, any of that.
And did you say earlier that you have some free classes too? I know
I'm actually
certain workers get them
teaching.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm teaching one tonight and then next Monday virtual. So if you follow me, I do virtual free classes throughout the year, every so often. So that is through Zoom, and you would just email me at groundedhealingme@gmail.com and just ask for a free yoga link.
Do you have to be flexible to do that yoga? Because I'm going to try it one time. I mean, just one.
Only a flexible heart and mind.
You get that question a lot, don't you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. All right. Cool. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give my final thoughts on this. Mr. Walter Anderson gave this quote, and I really liked it. He said, "Bad things do happen. How I respond to them defines my character and the quality of my life. I can choose to sit in perpetual sadness, immobilized by the gravity of my loss, or I can choose to rise from the pain and treasure the most precious gift I have, which is life itself." Thank you guys for listening to What's Up Award, the podcast. Be sure to tune us in on What's Up Award TV on YouTube and anywhere you get your streaming. I am Ward. She's Tiki. Thank you, Shea. Until next time. Peace.
Bye. Thank you.